Good morning to everyone who's tuned in, and welcome, Victoria. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Mark Abley, Managing Director at Fathom, and Victoria is our Head of Advice. Fathom is an independent financial advisor firm based in Spennymoor, County Durham, and today in this podcast we're going to chat about wills and why we think everybody should have one. But first, Victoria, please tell me, Fathom are a pension and investment firm, so why are they now getting themselves involved in taking will instructions?
No, great question, Mark. Morning, everybody. Well, we deal with client financial information all of the time. And as part of that planning, we always discuss the importance of having a will. A lot of our clients will always say, oh, I need to do that, or it's something that I'm definitely going to get done. And we would then refer them to local solicitors or even their own solicitor if they had one. But what we found was over time, nothing really happened. We'd be having the same conversation a year later and they'd be in exactly the same position. Now, we feel this was a major concern because it leaves a serious gap in everybody's estate planning. Therefore, as a business, we took the decision to include wills as part of our overall service. It just made sense because for a lot of our clients, we're already looking after their pensions or their investments, and we just know what can happen when there's no will in place. We just think it's a really important part of good financial planning.
Okay. But isn't it a complex area? I mean, what training have you done to sort of allow you to do this?
Well, with us being financial advisors, we're already fully qualified to be able to talk to our clients, about their financial situation, about tax matters and retirement and estate planning. So it gave us a really good grounding and basis for understanding the basics of wills and will writing. So when dealing with our clients' finances, talking about their pensions or investments, etc., we're often discussing with clients who they'd want to benefit from their estate and why. So it just seemed like a really natural progression. So in terms of training, it required 3 of us from the office to attend quite an intensive course over Zoom, which is par for the course nowadays, over 3 days. And I'm really pleased to say that at the end of it, we all passed the exam with flying colours.
Well done.
In terms of the course, it covered all aspects of taking will instructions, but it also ensured that we're fully equipped to deal with any of our clients' queries or questions. But more importantly, it allows us to recognise when a case might be a bit more unusual or a bit more complicated and actually needs to refer to a specialist.
Okay, so who drafts the will and who's responsible for getting it right?
So we take the client's instructions, Mark, and then we pass that information on to a company called Silver Lining Estate Planning. Silver Lining are a will and estate planning specialist, and they're fully STEP qualified. Now, STEP stands for the Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners, and it's the top professional qualification in will writing. So that was really important to us that the company had that to ensure that our clients get the best possible service. But in terms of responsibility, that also falls with Silver Lining. They're there to ensure that clients' wishes are all documented correctly.
Oh, okay, good. So, $1 million question for you. Why do we need a will anyway?
Okay, so everybody needs a will, but a bit of legal speak first of all. So a will is a legal document and it tells the executors of your estate exactly what your final wishes are. Now, for those that don't know, an executor is somebody that you appoint to deal with your estate. This is usually a family member, but they can instruct a solicitor or another professional to undertake the work on their behalf if they don't feel confident or capable enough to do it. But there's many reasons. The main reason is if you don't write a will and put your wishes down, then the government will decide for you. Most of us assume that when we die, everything we leave goes to our family, but that's not always the case. If you don't have a will, then you're deemed to have died intestate, and that means the laws of intestacy determine who inherits your estate, not you. Another really important reason, which was really personal to myself, is if you've got children under the age of 18, having a will allows you to pick and choose who's going to look after and be responsible for your children throughout their life when you're not here to do so. If you don't have a will, then that decision falls to the local authority. They make that decision about your children on your behalf. Now, it's likely that, they're going to choose a family member like a brother or a sister, but it's not set in stone. And the main catalyst for me when it came to making my will is that whilst they're waiting and making that decision, your children could potentially end up in care. And that was the main reason that I didn't want to, leave my children in that position. So, having a will in place, it is going to give you that peace of mind, but it also gives everybody else clarity as to what you want to happen with your assets, your children, and even your pets.
Oh wow, that I didn't realise that. To be fair, so quite an important document then.
Very.
Any other examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing to be aware of is we had a client who put a will in place shortly after the death of his wife. He's an older gentleman, he's got older children, and it was really, really important to him that in the event of his death, everything that him and his late wife had worked for would go on to his children. Now, fast forward a number of years, and he's been really fortunate to have met somebody else and is actually about to remarry. Now, that's great news for him, but potentially not for his children. And that's because not many people are aware that in the event of somebody with a will remarrying, it actually renders that will null and void. So if he dies without making a new will, his estate will automatically pass to his new wife and not his children. So as you can, it was potentially an awkward conversation that I knew I had to have with him, but it was an important conversation to have, purely to make him aware of it and allow him to make the decision as to what he wanted to happen. Now, him and his new partner are now making new wills that look after not only each other, but their own children as well.
Right, I bet that's something that escapes a lot of people, to be fair.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that.
No, what about younger people then?
So personally, I think it's a really, really good idea. It just keeps everything neat and tidy, and it gives clear, concise instructions. Now, I actually asked one of our younger colleagues why he had made a will, and he told me that he wanted his niece and nephew to benefit from his estate if he was no longer here, and not his parents. Now, it's not because he doesn't like his parents or love his parents. He does, but actually they're financially comfortable, they've got sufficient assets, they're okay, and he would just prefer to give his niece and nephew the best start possible. So making a will isn't just for older people.
All right. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense, really. I did read somewhere that making a will is on most people's to-do list, but actually most people don't get round to doing it. I mean, why do you think that is?
I think there's a number of reasons, Mark. Some people don't want to talk about making a will because it means facing up to the reality of death. Some people believe that they're, either too young or they don't have sufficient assets to warrant making a will. There's other people that believe that it's either too expensive or it's a difficult, complicated process. And as we found with some of our clients, it just seems to be a job for tomorrow, something that, they keep putting off. But unfortunately, we don't all know what's around the corner. So it's best to let everybody know what you want to happen whilst you can and make a will.
All right. So is it a complicated process? Oh, have we lost connection?
Hello. the problems of online.
Technology and all that. So I'll ask that question again, Victoria. Is it a complicated process?
No more complicated than this online meeting, Mark, but no, not at all. I think the hardest part is just sitting down and working out what you've got and who gets what when you're not here. And that's kind of where we come in. So we'll help you think through the whole process and we'll help you document everything. Once we've done that, we send it off to Silver Lining, who officially document everything for you. They'll send out a draft copy that you just need to review, check the spellings, check everything's correct. And then once you're happy, you just need to get the document signed and witnessed and everything's official. So it's not, complicated at all. And at the end of the day, we're here to help. We're at the end of the phone.
Okay. So what about the witness thing then? Who witnesses your will?
So anybody can witness your will as long as they're not benefiting from it. So again, we can help you with that. We can help sign any of the documentation. You can get your next door neighbour, you can get your great aunt Audrey, anyone, as long as they're not benefiting from the will, can sign that document for you.
All right, great. So I'm convinced. How long does it take?
So from start to finish, from the first meeting and receiving the official documentation, we find it's normally about 4 weeks. Now, as with everything at the moment with COVID, it might take a little bit longer, but in general, around about 4 weeks.
Okay, so I've written my will. How often do I review it?
So we recommend you review it every couple of years, and that just means have a read through, make sure everything's still how you would want it. In terms of changing your will, you only need to change it if there's been a change in your situation, so a birth, a death, a marriage or a divorce. So it's key life events that would warrant you changing your will.
Right, okay. So, and where do I keep it then once I have it?
So you've got a number of options. You can keep it at home if you want to, but if you do this, you just need to ensure that it's kept somewhere safe, waterproof and fireproof. And that's because for a will to be valid, the courts need to see an original document. And unfortunately, there's been several instances where somebody's passed away in a house fire, which has also destroyed the will. Without an original document, that person is then treated as if they've got no will. So if this is the option you choose, you just need to make sure it's somewhere safe and secure.
So even in this digital age where we're doing everything electronically, you've got to have the original document in your hand.
You do, for it to be valid, yes.
All right, okay. And are there any other options then?
Yeah, so you've got a second option, and that's using silver lining again. So you can actually store it with them in a secure, safe lockup, and that'll cost you £35 a year. The next option is you can store it with the probate service. So it's a one-off fee of £20.
Okay, so with silver lining then, what do you get for your 35 quid?
So first of all, you get your first year free, and then it's £35 a year thereafter. Now, what they include within that price, not only do you get the storage, but it allows you to make one amendment each year free of charge. Now, as we've already said, you're not going to have to change your will every year, but it's an option that's there for you.
So I guess if you were expecting sort of further grandchildren and things like that, that might be an option that you would use.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the probate service one then. What's that about?
Okay, so again, you send off your original document, they'll send you a certificate in return, you pay your one-off fee for £20, and then it's held there. So then in the event of your death, your loved ones know where to contact, they can get a copy of the original document. And because it's with the probate service, guess what? It's going to help out with, your arrangements after your death.
Okay, that seems like a sensible option then.
It does.
Oh, right, good. Are there any sort of examples that you can give us where, somebody didn't know where their will was?
Yeah. If nothing else, Mark, if you've got a will in place, it's really, really important that you let your loved ones or your family members know where it is, because it's no point getting your will sorted and getting it stored and then nobody knows. And the reason for that is there was an example quite recently where a lady had passed away and she had quite a sizable estate. The family knew there was a will in place because they talked about it, but what they didn't know was where. They knew it was with a solicitor, but they couldn't find the actual solicitor involved. As they were unable to provide an original document, that lady was actually classed as dying intestate, and her estranged daughter ended up benefiting from her estate when the family knew that that was not her intentions, but without the original document, they couldn't prove otherwise.
Oh.
So make sure, if you do nothing else, make sure you tell your loved ones exactly where your will is stored.
And could that have been because the solicitor had retired or closed or merged or something? Or
yeah, retired, closed, died themselves, moved premises. There's a number of reasons, but it's something that you need to be aware of.
Right, well, that's important then. So final question for you, what does it cost?
Not as much as you think. Now, we're currently offering single wills from £100 and a mirror will from £150. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I think you can agree that it's actually a small price to pay for the complete peace of mind that it brings with it.
Okay, well, just explain what a mirror will is, please. Right.
So a mirror will is if you've got a couple, so Mr. and Mrs., for example, and their wills are exactly the same. So there's a mirror placed between them. He wants everything to pass to her and then to their children, or she wants everything to pass to him and their children. So it mirrors each other.
Ah, right, that makes sense. Okay, great. Well, I think that just about wraps things up for today. Thanks to everyone who's joined us. Thanks to you, Victoria, for sharing that information with us. I hope everyone's found this Let's Talk About podcast useful. You can sign in or tune in tomorrow, where we'll be bringing our attention to lasting powers of attorney and all things like that. So hope to see you all tomorrow. Thanks for signing in today. If you want to ask us any further information about writing your will, please give us a call. Usual number 0800 043 8341 or email letstalk@fathomfinancial.co.uk. And thank you all and goodbye for now.
Thank you. Bye.